Cancer, I just finished your reading. This one is going to be very, very interesting. Look at all this kind of like shiny things that are coming. The Sun, the King and Queen of Pentacles. There is coupling. There is going on in a new direction. Look at that. The Lovers. And guess who you are? You are the Chariot. The Chariot is showing up as well as Karma. So check your reading. It is Karma in action. So let's start. Hi Cancer, and welcome to your monthly reading. Again guys, this is a general reading, and if your sun sign doesn't resonate, take a look at your ascendant and also at your moon sign. And if you're cross-watching for someone, aside from all of that, take a look at their Mars sign. And in the description you kind of like have a link to a natal chart so you can actually figure it out. So let's see, you did have a popper, and a really good one too. The sun. Boy, especially us in the northern hemisphere in general, we need sun for D vitamin. We need sun to feel fresh, to celebrate, to kind of like feel alive. Without the sun, nobody would live, right? And this is basically a card that talks about celebrations, it talks about new beginnings, it talks about optimism. It's like probably the most positive card in the entire deck. And I really like the kitty face in this card going on. So here is like that being center of attention, because the sunflower, right, rotates around the sun, continuously facing to it. So taking the center stage is kind of going to be the flavor of the month for you guys. And then you got from this Earth Magic DNA Karma, and it's kind of like a really interesting card. So let's kind of backtrack. So what is karma? And I really believe in it, and I believe it's a Eastern religions concept. It's a Sanskrit word implying the greater universal laws of cause and effect, and implying code of ethics, right, within the structure of seemingly endless cycles of birth, of death and rebirth, which is basically samsara. Check this movie if you haven't. It's kind of like really connecting to this card. It's a visual feast. It has like basically no conversation. It's just like simply very spiritual. So also karma means action, right? And hence we have these intertwining snakes, right, that are sort of like almost like double helix structure. Basically talks about what have been passed, right, down from our parents and grandparents as well as our ancestors, right? So we have some of the same genetic information that comes from the DNA of the very early humans. So just imagine how many, not only years, but centuries and even eons we actually have buried inside of us. So these intertwined serpents that actually almost like resemble those double basically helixes on kind of like both sides, right, are probably talking about the architectural images that exist in many cultures. Whether they are traditional or contemporary, you actually see that very often. And it is basically a graphic representation of the most ancient ancestry we can lay claim to, which is our DNA, very much the fundamental substance of life that provides substantial determination of our life path. So what have you been made of, Cancer, with kind of like these two coupling, right? I feel that maybe you have inherited DNA from your biological parents, and that you are receiving that basically physical component from that. But we also have a soul component, which is basically who we are. And we are predisposed to follow the karmic dictates of basically pattern to some extent. right? But we evolve in our own consciousness, and we are very much unlike our parents, or differ from our parents and what has been passed to us. So this is one of those times for you. Maybe you feel the tug of your soul that's both ancient and karmic. And you also recognize the persistent and loving communication from basically your higher self that maybe contradicts the situation that maybe are familiar or that are situation before you. So just so you know, the choice is basically up to you. But every time you heed the guidance of maybe your higher self, no matter if it is coming from etheric or physical form, you're going to almost elevate your sense of consciousness, right? It almost becomes a choice between destiny and fate, right? When you get this kind of karma card. I can't wait to see the rest, to see if we are going to get more karma cards in this reading. So let's see the bottom of the decks. We have Six of Pentacles and Flirt, Cancer. The Six of Pentacles is one of those cards that tells me about, you know, making us be the best we can be sharing, be evolving, be playful, and also be reliable. And in your case, this is kind of connecting with the Flirt card, and this is not very lighthearted, and this one is more or less talking about, let's turn this off, the fan is becoming dinky after a very short period of time. And this is talking about a really give and take and establishing this balance where maybe you can and should flirt, but at the same time kind of understand that there are limits to what you need to do. There is like a limit also how much you should take, you know. There is like kind of like interesting, especially when it comes to meeting new people. So we're going to see where this really goes. Okay, so reconciliation, interesting, because this is what this card could mean, the Sun. Then you have codependency. Cancer, does that mean same old, and that's why karma is saying, even though maybe you're structured and predisposed to do something, it is still telling you that maybe you should take a breather and just maybe go in a different direction. Deception, attraction. Give your relationship a chance. Romantic feelings. Pay attention to the red flags. Separation. Honeymoon. And very soon. And let's see what we have over here. 9 of Wands. And 10 of Swords reversed. That's actually good, giving the combination. And then 9 of Swords reversed. 5 of Pentacles. 8 of Wands reversed. Queen of Cups reversed. The World. That's actually awesome. Then we have King of Swords reversed. We have Queen of Swords reversed. And 3 of Pentacles. So what is going on over here? Okay, I would say that let's go with the past. Maybe there was like something that was a no-go. Maybe somebody has left you out in a cold. Maybe there was this feeling, let's see if I can just put it better here. Maybe there was this feeling of not belonging somewhere or with someone. It's kind of like one of those very sad realizations that sometimes we reach in life. That kind of like, it just like simply, you know, makes us wonder why things cannot work out, because you see the two of them are still together over here, but kind of like there is like one person taking care of the other, but both of them are sort of destitute. And it's kind of like that kind of like feeling that looks like you carried from the past. Again, the Two of Wands reversed, it means lack of vision, and it's kind of really hard to kind of get lost and not to see a big picture. Maybe sometimes getting really nagged down by the small details, either somebody nagging you or you kind of like focusing on the small things. As they say, you know, you cannot see the forest from the tree. But there is like definite kind of like a feeling that this is like still connecting you to something in the past. But I would say nothing very, you know, concerning in a sense that is going to be your chain in a bowl where you cannot shake it off, because you do have a new ability to kind of like start to flirt and start to kind of like move forward. Because I do see here, interestingly enough, reconciliation with Nine of Wands, and then codependency with Ten of Swords reversed. Well, reconciliation means that somebody might try to knock back in your life, right? And it could be a school of hard knocks that basically it was with someone. Maybe, you know, sometimes you go back and forth with someone, you're familiar with someone, and just like it's kind of hard to break off because there are so many kind of cords that put us together. But it's either you or somebody kind of like anticipating some kind of hostility and maybe kind of like figuring out if this is really something you really want to continue with. Sometimes wisdom comes basically at high price, and this is definitely being nines. They're like karmic cards as well, because it carries a karmic lesson, and it's kind of like refining your character through maybe some kind of like perilous passage. Now I see here codependency, and codependency talks about addictions. Yes, it talks about maybe hesitating to get involved with someone due to some issues. And this doesn't have to be necessarily only, oh dude, you know, you're drinking too much, or just like lay down those drugs and I don't want you to smoke a doobie. This is kind of more than that. This codependency generally to me talks about emotional symbiotic relationship, which even if one partner is healthy, it's kind of like almost like a cancerous growth. It kind of comes to you and starts affecting you, because one person has, well, both people might have their self-esteem really affected with one person needing to be fed accolades all the time, and others kind of like being the one who is like a feedee. And I think maybe that was sort of like the interaction. Maybe also when I see codependency, and please check on my other channel, you can see it on the main site. I actually did cover that because I see that a lot in my reading. One partner could be very much a narcissist and somebody who have cost you lots of promise, lots of pain, but lots of promises. Whenever you are not the food, you're not feeding him or her with, oh, you're the best, and yes, it's somebody who is in so much pain. Well, mind you, narcissists are not that much in pain. They definitely have this deficiency of empathy, and it's basically, you know, no happiness there. But this is definitely telling me that you guys have to really think through it, what you want to do this. Look at this Five of Swords. It's somebody so happy and who wants to win at any cost. Because look at this, like a kid is thinking, I am so important. Look at this, I have all the swords. It is interesting that a kitty has 5 swords, but there are like only 3 kitties over here, and 2 of the other ones are really saddened, and the winner here is completely oblivious of how the others feel. And this is kind of like the whole idea. The reconciliation might make you feel good, and that can actually hook you into this codependency, because you know, you kind of like would feel this relief, we are together because they are good times. It's like never that we would just go back just because person is just bad. But look at this King of Wands. This person is controlling and it could be also somebody who is married, somebody who is just not willing to commit, and sort of like just like this one, to themselves, because the other two that are missing are already gone. So it's kind of like collateral damage. Doesn't mean that much over here to this person, right? This I liked, as what I told you, in a combination, telling me that you will start to wake up from a bad dream. And the dream for you is like, you're very romantic, you kind of like want to move forward, but at the same time, right, that's why you have this karma and you have like the sun, kind of like this presence. But at the same time, you also have this kind of fear of stepping in again and kind of like extending yourself again. Look at this, like you have the 2 tenths and the star reversed. Yes, somebody, I think what you're going to figure it out, and this is like very wise, or somebody's going to figure it out, that, you know what, there is like nothing there until, you know, it's kind of like needing to go down to the core of the issue and to heal the issue. And as long as that issue is not healed, like this is like not possible to resolve. It's not going to be any happiness, because in codependency, and that would be the devil card, right? You're just stuck. You don't kind of like feel need to support each other, or just like it's one-sided kind of a thing. Or it could be that somebody, also when I see this, it always tells me that some exes could be creeping up and kind of like taking reins of your relationship, and you know, it's simply kind of patience is running thin on somebody, right? Like there is like also a question about deception. And look at this, we have here 9 of Swords and it's reversed. So it is like that. This is talking about denial and gossip and unrequited love over here. So maybe something happened in the past where, even though the opportunity might show, I think the healing and kind of like looking at things from a side was really, really beneficial, because this was like kind of realization of, look, I was upsetting myself with so many things, because look at that, 2 of them both are wearing masks. So, you know, the need here is like not to continue with these roles that people in codependency do. They kind of like saddle each other with roles. So like the knight in the shining armor and the dame in distress are actually codependent roles, where one has to be always charming and romantic and another one is always weak. And, you know, so these kind of relationships can work out, but there are not healthy relationships. And look, you are declaring it's over. You kind of know what happened, you know where you're going on, and you're saying, you know what, this has to end. I just cannot continue with this. And look at that, talking about, you know, trying to face things after the death. Look, the kitty here is blindfolded, stuck in the tree crown. And it's kind of like one of those feelings, what do I do? Where do I go next? Am I going to just like fall and break a leg? When this reverses, it means you will start integrating slowly, but you'll be able to assert your needs. You'll be able to kind of step back from everything that you have experienced and see it for what it is. It's kind of interesting. Look at it, you have 10, 9, 8. It's kind of like interesting how it goes. And good for you, because usually people's ego plays a role, and oh, you know, somebody's coming back, or you want somebody back, and it's kind of like more important and overrides anything else, such as like your own well-being. And the reason why you got karma card, and also mixed with the sun, so it's almost like water and the sun to kind of like grow this, is probably there to tell you, look, you have been there, you already know what is going on. Yes, maybe the unknown could be scary, maybe it is, but still, it's better than where you were. says give your relationship a chance, but then it's saying, look, be very careful what is the relationship you want to give a chance, because 8 of Wands will be love errors, but it's reversed. So it's saying, you know, delay your decision if anything kind of like is really coming in front of you of that kind, and reassess if this is really the best for you. Wow, Queen of Wands, I love this babe, right? So it's going to be kind of like feeling, is this really going to work for me, for my development? But because she's the one who gets up and does the stuff, and it's mover and the shaker, right? And kind of like this is like a very fiery aspect over here in your reading. And looking, taking the walls down with 4 of Pentacles. So I think you're really, really going to measure everybody against the level of interaction with you. It's going to be very, very important in order to move forward. This kind of would be you with romantic feelings, but you see, in codependency and with the wrong person, you kind of like don't get into this go, go, go stage, because you kind of like become overly emotional, or kind of like really not healthy and really not productive, because like Queen of Cups, oh my gosh, she can open the pipes and cry, and she's exactly the dame in distress. And look at that, this is you. And you actually really want to get out of this. Like, I mean, you are by nature a water, an emotional sign, but you are kind of like moving forward and saying, look, you know what, I know that nothing in life is black and white, and I do know what I don't want, and at least I'm moving forward. This is kind of like really, really charging ahead. Honestly, I think you guys will be dating this month. You'll be flirting. This is another card that talks about choices. It talks about flirting. That talks about moving forward. There will be romantic feelings. Just, you know, be very careful that you move slowly this month, because you are reassessing your needs and maybe meeting somebody who is really not what you need. But boy, you have lots of options this month. There is like Queen of Wands, there's Queen of Cups, and then there's the Queen of Swords. We do have quite a bit of things going on here. You definitely, guys, are feeling going to the next level. You kind of absorb karmic lesson, and then think, again, this is another message that I'm getting. It is kind of like time to move forward. Like your World card, it's simply meaning, hey, pat yourself on the shoulder, lesson well done. You have learned something, and generally those lessons are not the easiest lesson to learn, right? But hey, it has been learned, because look at this, like we have the air, we have the fire, we have the earth, and we have the water. And these are like those 4 corners that kind of like stagnate us, that stabilize us when we need to do it. So paying attention to the red flags is kind of like something that is probably knowledge. You realize that even though you want to be with someone, unless they're healthy, you are not supposed to be their therapist. You are supposed to be a partner. That's a much different role, because if you take on the role of a therapist, and where was this that you had, did you not have I think you had 6 of Pentacles. Yeah, you had 6 of Pentacles. That kind of talks about knowing how much to give and knowing how much you take. Definitely you're not supposed to be the therapist in a relationship, because that kind of completely takes relationship off its rails. And, you know, it is kind of time for you to take the kind of like training wheels off and start moving forward. And if that means communicating this, and I'm sorry, but hey, I have to say it could be really harsh. That's what it's going to be. And it kind of looks like it's really difficult for you, that you kind of like, look, you have this sword. It's going to be lots of conversation. You might, some of you I feel are in a very serious relationships that maybe you are putting to an end, or somebody's putting an end to something that has been going on. But there is like sort of like that point in between closing and restarting, sort of like a new chapter of your life with both the world and with the sun. But there is like this communication about kind of like really blurring out things, and maybe even running away from the problems, which kind of like has to be cleared. Communicating why you are stepping out or asking somebody to tell you is going to be really beneficial. It could be hurtful because you are a water sign and these are swords, and for you it's kind of really difficult to receive these messages, but almost trust me, you're going to be thankful for asking, because at least you will know what you're dealing with. Because look, this is the environment, and here we have the separation, and here we have the King of Swords reversed, and that usually talks about the judge. It talks about somebody who doesn't want to continue with something, just like separation. It could mean that it's going to be another cycle with someone. Let's kind of try it again, but it might not end that well. And look at here, Magician reversed. And I don't like this dude either. Magician reversed is always talking about somebody who has ulterior motives. Magician is sort of like always somebody who is kind of going to be a sleazy, or you know, who kind of like wants to take advantage of you, I would say, right? They're kind of pretending to be know-it-all, to be an expert, but you know, they might even offer some kind of, let's say, resources. Pardon me, I have no idea what happened. I just like know that all of a sudden I noticed, luckily, you know, not in the beginning, the things are not recording, so my apologies. So this is where I was like stopping. There's like somebody who is trying to convince you they're the best, you know. That can be that very narcissistic, I'm God-given gift to men or women, and I'm so pretty, and you kind of like, you'll have to question the real value of this person if they have to be a salesman for themselves. You're supposed to really approach another person with saying what you as a couple can actually create, and it's going to be sort of eye-opening thing, maybe this aha moment, because like Seven of Swords, when it reverses, is actually better when we either get apology and finally somebody sees it that way, or at the very least it's an aha moment, and I cannot do this, well thank you, I love this, but I cannot do this. Now in hopes and fears I have the honeymoon. So now following through with this, there are two different options. Some of you might simply just go for another rinse cycle, and you know, sometimes you really have to hit the rock bottom before you pick yourself up, which is the Chariot, which is you. The entire Cancer is about picking yourself up, moving forward, and dealing with anything that comes in your way. It is kind of like one of those months, this one. So, but others will say, actually, I know the red flags. I know that maybe I have avoided them, but I still actually face them, and I kind of like cut something off. It's kind of like asserting yourself, because you also had on the bottom of the deck Six of Pentacles, and Six of Pentacles is always talking about sharing and understanding how far you have to push, or you should push, and also at the same time understanding how much you're willing to tolerate from somebody else, right? It is also doing the right thing. And if you just like feel I just like need to be with somebody, trust me, it's not that balance that this kind of like is calling for, because those of you, and that's why the Queen of Swords, who actually can be a person who is in a way, but Queen of Swords reversed, she is just like cutting anything that cannot work. So you're going to say, look, you know, I have this vision. I want to kind of like feel happy. I want to meet somebody who is right there for me. Maybe you haven't defined who is right for you, because it looks like, you know, there were like lots of wrong choices over here, and that's what happens when we are working through issues. But then, ta-da, the Queen of Pentacles showed up. So guys, this is a coupling, and this is not just coupling. This is like, and then you have the pentacles here. This is that exactly what needs to be done in order for something to work long term. Give and take, and both people understanding that work is needed in a relationship, hard work. You know, they are both very grounded, both very attractive, both kind of like realizing this kind of like needs to happen. So maybe the fear is that things are not going to work out. And hope is like everything is going to work out in the best possible way, even with the ring on the finger, etc., etc. I mean, you do have indication that if you have been dating somebody seriously, and you know, it usually happens when you're uncertain and one person really wants to move forward and the other person doesn't, then there's a breakup just when you start to kind of like hit this point, okay, where do we go from here, right? And in some of your cases, if something like this happened, people will come back and say, hey, will you marry me? And also we have the marriage card over there, the sun card, which is also a card that can talk about pregnancies. And that DNA, actually, that can tell me that as well, to be honest. I don't know how I didn't pick up that right away. And hence, all these people could make sense, because maybe it's going to be sort of like, okay, now we have to get married, but like, is this kind of like really stuff that I really want to go into it, right? There's going to be lots of discussion about that. So where is this going? It says very soon, and then you have like 3 of Pentacles. So yes, it might be the 3rd. It might be, you know, the bun in the oven. Something from the past is kind of going to come back and needs to be resolved, needs to be cleared. Grievances have to be aired out and resolved. And there is a difference between, you know, just as I said, between cruelty and between honesty. Because if you do not package your honesty, then you are just simply cruel, right? And cruelty never changed anybody's opinion. So, you know, this is amazing. It's kind of like ending up, wait, look at this happy self, and there is like this big new beginning and something looking forward to it. Look at these mountains. In the original card of Lovers, we also have the mountain, and this is like, okay, we have the entire life, new kind of like horizons, new kind of things to kind of conquer. It's just like simply going in a new direction. And this ace always to me talks about something big, something long term, and this actually could be with somebody from the past. I actually did pull one more card for you to seal this reading, Cancer. And again, this is a general reading. Please make sure you check your ascendant, your moon. And yeah, for reading with me, just contact me via my website, catera.ca. So let me just see what we have for the ending here. We got flying reversed, and this is what it says. When you see the flying card reversed, it is a gentle reminder that there are times to take flight and times to remain grounded, and for now you must avoid overreaching. There is still work to be done before you earn your wings. Be patient. What you seek will not be out of reach forever. And I can see that here. It might actually be in reach like this very, very month. Remember the story of Icarus in Greek mythology, whose wax made wings, and overconfidence brought him too close to the sun. And we have the sun. He perished because he didn't realize his limitations. Humility is a great power, and now you must exercise it. Doing too much, too fast, too soon only serves to prevent a beautiful flight later on. It's kind of interesting that you have this kind of horsey with wings, and you also have your own card. I think this is simply talking to you to kind of bide your time, because your time has come. You're sort of like doing the last minute kind of packaging, putting the bow on the present, if you wish, before you actually can spread your wings and fly. I think it's a really good thing, Cancer. So enjoy it. Enjoy the sitting in the sun. That's going to be absolutely awesome. And guys, please, if you're not subscribed, subscribe so you get to be notified about my live readings. And also please like and share, and I'll see you soon. Love you.